afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think this should be a very interesting session because these are, we've handpicked some categories and selected speakers for you in this session who've really done not only some tremendous work online, but also created categories which are far ahead of what I would call is the consumer share or the wallet share, and they have gone on to capture the wallet share within those categories very interestingly. When I remember we did a survey on in terms of consumption about 5 years back, we realized the most spent categories or where people spend the maximum amount of money was perhaps education or grocery as the two leading categories. And interestingly, online they have created categories which are probably otherwise used to come about 5th or 6th in consumer survey, consumers buying habits. But what I think has changed with e-line or e-retail is that now people have started buying these categories as if there's no tomorrow. They want to buy it today. Right there when the deal is there or not there, they need the thing or they don't need the thing. The winters might be setting in 6 months there, but Desigual is offering a jacket today, so we might as well buy it today. So that is a very interesting consumption that has emerged within these sectors. So we've handpicked for you, so Manu's here, who's going to be talking about the lifestyle sector, the fashion. Manu will also appreciate if you can bring some degree of understanding about the home sector for us. Kashyap would be talking about CDIT and electronics as a sector, and Prashant, who's just be joining us in a minute, will tell us more about health and wellness as a space. So I'll start with Manu first. Manu, you've been, Jabong has been somehow one of the very discussed organization and e-retailer over the last yesterday also, and perhaps in the early part of the day. So we'd really like to hear from you. What makes fashion and Jabong at that as a leader in this category?
Thanks, Ritu. So I would 100% agree with you. When 1 year back, when we were starting off, this was a huge debate in terms of which is the category that we want to enter and we want to own that category. And what we realized was, after food, the second biggest need for a human being is actually apparel and shoes. And we said there was no dominant player in India who was playing or owning this particular category in the online space in India. So we thought this was a virgin territory for us, and we said, let's just go in and own this particular space. So that is what we have tried to do at Jabong in last 1 year. The way that we perceive ourselves is we want to be a one-stop or the go-to destination for all fashion and lifestyle needs. And anybody who's looking for anything related to lifestyle, be it a shoe, apparel, watches, sunglasses, jewelry, etc., he or she should be able to find it over there. So people over there, they have the purchasing power, they have the right kind of aspiration, they are exposed to right set of media, they consume same media as you and me do on Facebook, on YouTube, but they don't have an option to buy. So from that perspective, I think that is what we are trying to do. And if you look at if you look at what truly will make or break case for anybody like us, it will be having the right kind of assortment that we can provide to our consumers and give them a service which is truly exceptional and service that's something that they value.
Just to get a sense of understanding, how is the fashion consumer behaving? I mean, how exactly, what is his buying pattern, let's say at Jabong? What kind of categories within fashion he's more excited about? How do you go about making sure that, and understandably you have a huge merchandise that you showcase online. So how do you kind of make sure that, the brands stand out and the consumer is able to view all those brands? So what is your take on that?
If you look at from a category perspective, I think the two big categories for us, one is apparel, second is shoes. And then within this, there would be some smaller categories or subcategories which would be dominant. For example, in shoes, formal shoes and sports shoes or sneakers would be really big. And that is because people tend to buy, in India, people tend to buy even sports shoes in informal wear. So people come online, whatever behavior they exhibit in the offline world, exactly a similar kind of behavior they exhibit in the online world also. From the way that we want to do, we try to showcase each of these categories and brands based on consumer demand. So what we know is there's some categories which sell well. So we will try to showcase them more on our site, on the home page or on the different landing pages. So we will try to show you ads or banners related to those brands only. While if you're a consumer who is coming to our site for the first time, we might show you a plethora of all the brands, and we will allow you to choose or select whatever you want to do.
What would you say is the average ticket size of a consumer spend at Jabong?
So it varies a lot depending upon which category you are shopping. So a shoe, people also come and buy a 4,000 rupee sports shoes. People also come and buy for 500 rupee flip-flop. But on an average, it would vary between 1,500 and 2,500.
For a regular, and that would be the same for, let's say, a metro as well as for a tier 2, or would it vary as well?
It would be similar in terms of metro and tier 2, tier 3, but it would vary a lot between category and category, right? So even between men's shoe and women's shoe, or a men apparel and women apparel, it would vary, because women shoes are typically lower price as compared to men's shoe,
right,
and so is women apparel. But if you look at jewelry average ticket size would be really high.
Really high, yeah. So also to get a sense of understanding, what is the fashion consumer like? How much does he browse around before he really says that, okay, I'm ready to buy?
A lot, I would say.
Yeah, how typical time spent would be?
Now, this is something interesting. So if you look at male versus female, there is where we see a significant difference. What we have observed is most of the males, when they come to our site, first thing that they go for is a particular brand, and they're very, very brand conscious. And they will choose one of these products and they will check out. So average time spent would be much lower. However, for women, it is other way around. They hardly use a brand filter. So they browse through like n number of pages, sometimes even as high as 50 pages. And on every page, there are like more than 50 products. And they go through a lot of products in detail, and then they choose what to buy. And sometimes women actually change from one category to another a lot of times. So they will come to the jewelry page, but then they will go to a shoe page, and then an apparel, and then finally end up buying maybe a goggles.
Interesting. So while that is the fashion category, let's understand now the electronics category. Kashyap, you've understandably, Croma is both online and is offline as well. And we know that, I mean, it was a report that we have done. We found that probably people are browsing fashion and lifestyle sites too much, but we still find that they're buying too much on the CDIT or the electronics stores online. So what is your take on this? And I mean, how far do you think is the consumer different for CDIT, for an online store, or for let's say a regular store, a traditional store?
Thank you, Ritu. Basically, for us at Croma, going online was actually a natural extension for brick and mortar, because primarily, yes, we are a very, very strongly established player when it comes to brick and mortar, and Croma is today, a very, very premium brand in this country. However, one of the reasons why we explored going online is basically to increase our reach. Primarily, it would have been difficult for us to set up a store, at possibly every nook and corner, because the ROI per square feet doesn't justify the investment. And hence, the best way was to go online and reach out to consumers, where Croma today, can't go as a brand. However, from a consumer perspective, it's equally the same, because when I talk about the pattern of CDIT shopping online, I think more or less all of us know today that a consumer who goes to shop any electronic item or any IT related item is pretty much of an informed consumer. We are more and more seeing the pattern at our brick and mortar store also, that consumers who are visiting to our brick and mortar store to shop is an informed consumer. By doing his research and discovery online, would compare features, various brands, everything online, and then would visit the store. So it was a natural extension for us, and the e-commerce phase helps to serve that piece. We are also experiencing, in fact, more and more feedback that we are getting is a lot of consumers who also visits our own e-commerce site then lands up at our brick and mortar store, nearest brick and mortar store, and would shop from there. So one is, yes, it is online is clearly an enabler for research and discovery for the consumer, and IT and electronics is a no-brainer category from that point of view. Second thing, what we are experiencing on our e-commerce site, and I would want to take this example of product life cycle. So if you typically take the bell curve of product life cycle, there are three parts of that bell curve. One is when the product is very, very new into the market, and I call it as an hard to find part of bell curve. Second piece is that when the same product becomes in vogue and it's available, it's the availability of that product is there at every nook and corner. That's what I call it as in vogue. And the third part of the bell curve is when the product starts tapering towards end of its life cycle. So online plays a far bigger role, and we have already experienced that in all these three parts of the bell curve of product life cycle. So primarily, yes, to answer, that's the first part, and we are seeing that trend more and more when it comes to CDIT shopping, which is the trend around hard to find products being available online and shopping for that. Now coming to the second piece, which is the in-vogue piece. Now, when it comes to in-vogue piece, I'm talking about typically, let's say, a Galaxy S3, which is now become an in-vogue kind of a phone. It's available at every nook and corner. What really matters, and I think we are seeing people buying it from Chroma's, e-commerce site, is while that same Galaxy S3 may be available at every nook and corner, okay, it's a standard brand, standard product, but why would anyone buy it from Chroma online? Or rather from Chroma? One of the primary reason is because of the trust factor. As I said, Chroma is a very, very well established brand in the country today, backed by Tata's, because Tata in this country is known for trust. And we have our own, network of service centers, I would say, the support that we get from brand because of the sheer volume size that we have today. I think all those things really matters, because when a consumer is shopping for those type of products, they also look at typically, what is the service backup that I'm going to get? If this something goes wrong, is there someone to, hear me out? Is there someone to help me out? So those things really matters. And I think, when it comes to, invoke kind of a range of products, that's where we play an edge. So online serves also as a very good medium for liquidation of those type of inventory. It is actually, a straight brand new box packed product, offered to a consumer, at a discounted rate. So, that helps us to, keep on turning our inventory very quickly. So broadly, this is, I would say that this is a pattern which we are seeing it online, and I think it's really working well for us.
Are the offers which you run in your stores feasible for your online, let's say a buyback offer? I'm sorry, probably an exchange offer. Let's say, get your old iron exchanged for a new one, your old toaster for a new one or something. Is that possible to run it in a digital format?
First and foremost thing is at our brick and mortar store, okay? Because of a sheer limitation of shelf space, okay, there is a particular set of ranging which is done for a brick and mortar store. Online, I don't have that challenge, correct? So if, let's say, there are 1,000 articles which are ranged for a brick and mortar store, online I can have 10,000 articles.
And wouldn't you say that would be a challenge for a customer to see those 10,000 articles? I mean, one page can only display as much. And men, then you say, are not the best shoppers anyway.
No, not really. So I think that is the fundamental difference between an online and offline, as Kashyap was saying. And in offline, you need to have a limited shelf space. In online, you can have as much as possible. So if you go to Jabong, you will find more than 50,000 SKUs live. If they were not being viewed, we wouldn't be keeping them in our stock. And we are carrying a huge inventory holding cost or whatever, just to ensure that this is what people are demanding. This is what people are buying. Let us provide it to them. And the idea is to increase it even further. Because anything that is related to lifestyle or fashion, if there's an inherent demand for it, we will stock it and we will sell it. Okay,
so I come to you, Prashant. We realize today people are buying everything which is probably going to help them not fall sick, rather than buy medicines, unlike probably the last generation, which only used to buy a medicine for probably any health product if they were actually falling ill. So, how is this category really moving online? What do you think is driving traffic? What are people buying online in terms of health and wellness? And more importantly, what you'll have to give us a little more consumer insight as to how they buy and what they buy, and what is actually making them buy or helping them buy those products.
I think a lot of it has to do with, one, this is a big market. People anyway need and use these products. And a lot of these products are not available in organized retail in the offline space. Offline retail format is very under-evolved. And people are very conscious of getting it from a source they can trust. So that's one, I think, single most important reason. And we did a survey of our own consumers. Why do you buy from us? Authenticity came out to be the #1 reason. There's the other big reason is access. Now, even in small towns, and more than half of our sales are actually out of the metros, people have money, people want to spend on their lifestyle, people want to spend on a good living. The products are just not available. So e-commerce brings retail to your home. We bring global products right to the doorstep of anyone, anywhere in the country. So that access problem is clearly being solved through e-commerce. Another big piece is, and this is from the consumer understanding piece of it, a lot of people who buy these products are not looking necessarily just for a product. They're looking for a solution for a condition they have or an aspiration they have. So be it they want to build muscles or gain stamina or lose weight or manage diabetes better, they might come looking for a diabetes meter, but they are actually looking for, how do I manage diabetes? So what we have on site, and actually are investing a lot further on it, is we have a live chat, we have trained nutritionists, a dietitian, a diabetes educator on chat, on phone. Daily around 250 people register for counseling, asking for, this is the situation, is this the right thing for me, is this the right monitor for me? Should I look at something else? And so it's a much more involved category that way.
Monetize your counseling?
We don't. Counseling is completely free, and I think it just makes it a much more of a non-commodity play that way. And it is, and counseling is purely the nutritionists and dietitians helping them make the product selection, because people really don't know. So we are also investing into setting up an online consumer health content site. And I think from our perspective right now, amongst all Indian health sites, we are #1 in terms of traffic. Amongst global health sites visited out of India, we are #4 after WebMD, Livestrong, and Everyday Health. I think fitness and consumer health, these are two of the big areas that we have seen good traction on. Nutrition by itself is a pretty significant category. So supplements, vitamins, minerals, healthy food, things like gluten-free food, organic food, these are actually doing pretty well. Diabetes as a category on its own is doing pretty well. The long tail is typically a very big reason why people come to the site. So if you're looking for a walker, or you're looking for a neck collar or something, now where do you go? The offline format is not well defined, and definitely not outside the big cities. So HealthCart kind of positions itself as the platform to do that. Very recently we got into medication as well, so of course that's something people are very actively looking at. We serve only Delhi NCR with that so far.
When you say medication, do you do any certain side, let's say only cancer medication or something very particular, or do you do all generic sort of pharmacy medication as well?
While the offering is pharmacy offering, the focus is chronic. So that's where I believe e-commerce solution makes more sense than others, because it's a planned purchase, it's a recurring purchase. You know what you want, and so it's chronic care, acute care, and symptomatic care. Acute and symptomatic, you pretty much need it right now, and we don't, while we do sell those medicines as well, but we do not expect that to be the bigger part of the business.
I mean, and particularly with health, it is quite true that, one keeps on reading about, let's say, an X discovery that was made for a very acute chronic disease or a life-threatening disease in UK, and there's some medication available which is only available there. So do you actually go out and put a medicine, or for example, let's say a swine flu has come in and everybody needs that certain medicine for it. So would you be putting out such medicines and probably shouting out loud on your site that this is available here?
Right now we don't. So right now it's pretty much medicines that are available in the market. We are just focusing on those. We actually already get a lot of demand of both these kinds of scenarios. One is people from India who want a specific medicine that they saw in the US or some other Western market that can you get me a simple thing like a Tylenol, which is not available here, and they just trust it more. And the reverse also, people from abroad asking if that they saw that amoxicillin is way cheaper in India on your website, so can you just ship it to us in Canada or France or wherever?
Are you doing it?
We're not doing it. So right now we are, I think...
but that would have regulation. This would be regulated,
it is, and there is a perfectly legal method to do it. It's just, we've just started offering it to India. In due course, we would like to first study it in a lot more detail before we venture into these kind of opportunities. But these are definitely opportunities on the horizon. But as a company, we have pretty much been very focused on the Indian market. We believe it's a big enough market and it keeps us very, very busy. So this would require a whole new effort of figuring out international payments, international logistics, international regulations. It's just, I would say, not... India
is big enough.
Not the low-hanging fruit right now for us.
Sure, no, I understand. Interestingly, Manu, I came across a lot of tie-ups that you've done, which is very nice. I mean, I of course, being an editor, I came across Desigual, and then there was another maternity brand that you bought in. Desigual is a huge brand. It's a huge Spanish brand. It's as good as Zara. But how do you actually make sure that Desigual gets promoted? And you cannot drive a Desigual sale till it actually becomes like a Zara hype. For people to buy it. How do you expect to really monetize, and particularly also so for Desigual to really monetize and achieve what they may be looking for from the Indian market?
I think the reason why we keep a lot of such high-end brands is because there's an inherent demand. So as Prashant was saying, there are people in India, a lot of people who travel abroad, they see these kind of brands over there, and they feel a need or they need to buy such kind of things here in India, and they don't have any option to buy. And that is why we said, let's go ahead, and some of these are, by the way, exclusive partnerships that we have, right? Which means these brands cannot sell on any other online portal in India. So we said that if there's a genuine demand, and if people are asking for it, let us go and do these tie-ups. For some of these, we actually had to even travel international to tie up these partnerships. What we try to do is, I think, two things. One, from a consumer side, we keep talking to a lot of consumers. Every month, we not only send out survey emails asking what would you want us to stock more, but we also talk to select set of customers across different tiers, across different type of profiles to understand what is it that they would want us to stock more or keep more of that they are currently finding it difficult to buy. So that gives us a little bit of idea in terms of what the overall demand would be. Second, in terms of once we get a partner or a brand on board, in terms of promoting, there could be different sections. For example, for very high-end brands, there is a separate section on the site which is called as the premium section. So I recognize that if you are a customer and if you're not really interested in regular brands which are available in India, but you're looking for something really extraordinary, you can directly go to that particular section and make a purchase from there. And so we try to give a very tailored or custom-made kind of an experience to each of the customer. And this again brings back to the earlier point that I was mentioning, saying that if you already have browser site and if we know the kind of history that you have maintained, we would try to show you more and more such kind of products so that you basically get what you're looking for, rather than just bombarding you with every possible brand or every possible product.
But Kashyap, how does the Chroma private label sell on the .com? Does it sell well?
You will not find Chroma own label products typically in the primary mainline category, let's say like mobile phone. So we don't have our own label mobile phone currently, maybe in a tablet or maybe in a laptop. But we've selected very unique categories. So if you see, we got, fantastic range of our own label products when it comes to appliances, small appliances. And there are very, very unique products. Things like, I would say foot spa massager, things like, I would say, the back massager, then things like, lot of accessories, of own label are there. Things like, 4-slice pop-up toaster. But if you see even, the design of that product and the utility of that product, it's very, very unique, okay? And we have already seen a great ramp up and demand for those type of products online. as I said, I'll once again come to the same point, is the reach of these type of products. There is a demand for these type of products, but availability is a problem.